and in this video, I'm going to show you how to simulate a real traversable wormhole using nothing but just Python, a laptop, and equations from a Nobel Prize winning physicist, where you can make this into something like this. Alright, so what's the plan? Simulating a wormhole has three major parts. First, we need to understand what a metric actually is. Basically, because that's the language that the universe uses to describe curved spacetime. Second, we build a 2D version using Python Pygame to visualize how these rays of light bend around the wormhole's throat. And third, we will go full 3D with GPU accelerated ray tracing that runs in real time on a single Python script on mine and yours computer or laptop. But before any of that, let's talk about metrics. Because if you don't understand this, nothing else will make sense. You've probably seen this visualization at some point. A massive object warping a rubber sheet. It's a useful analogy, but it's missing something crucial. The map that describes exactly how this warping happens. This map is called a metric. In flat space, this metric is dead simple. It's just Pythagoras. Distance between 2 points is the square root of, well, x squared plus y squared and z squared in three-dimensional Euclidean space. But in curved spacetime, this metric gets more interesting. For example, this is the Schwarzschild metric. It describes how spacetime around a non-spinning, that is a static black hole, behaves. But we're not here for black holes today. We're here for something arguably cooler in terms of mathematics. This is the Morris-Thorne metric, published in 1988 by Michael Morris and Kip Thorne. Yes, Kip Thorne, who later won a Nobel Prize for detecting gravitational waves and served as a scientific advisor for the movie Interstellar. And fun fact, the equation exists because of Carl Sagan. He was writing the novel Contact, which I'm sure you might have read, and then he asked his friend Kip Thorne, hey, is there any real physics that could allow someone to travel across the galaxy in a reasonable amount of time? Thorne's answer was this metric. Well, let me now break down this metric. The variable L is the proper radial distance. It ranges from negative infinity to positive infinity. When L is positive, you're in one universe. When L is negative, you're in another. And at L equals 0, well, you are at the throat of the wormhole. That B is basically the throat radius, the minimum size of the tunnel. Unlike a black hole, there is no singularity here. No event horizon. You can go through and come back. And the beautiful part, when L gets very large, either positive or negative, the metric approaches flat Minkowski spacetime. Both mouths of the wormhole open up into normal flat space. Two separate universes connected by a geometric tunnel. This is exactly how, when you embed a 2D slice of this metric into 3D Euclidean space, looks like. The throat is the narrow part in the middle. Light entering from one universe can pass through the throat and emerge into the other. So the question becomes, how does light actually travel through this curved spacetime? When a plane flies from New York to Tokyo, it does not take a straight line on a map. It follows what we call as a great circle. That is the shortest path on a curved surface. On a flat map, that path looks curved, but on an actual spherical globe, it's the straightest possible route. The same principle applies to light in curved spacetime. Light always follows the shortest path, what physicists call as null geodesic. The word null means that the path has zero proper length. Because light travels at the speed of light, it experiences no passage of time along its trajectory. To find these geodesics, we use the geodesic equation. Well, I know this looks intimidating, but here's what it actually means in simple terms. The acceleration of a coordinate like L or phi depends on these things called as Christoffel symbols that encode how spacetime is curved. For our Morris-Thorne wormhole, when we work out all the Christoffel symbols and plug them in, we get two key equations. The first equation tells us how fast the light ray accelerates towards or away from the throat. The second tells us how the angular direction changes. Notice that L appears in the denominator. As you approach the throat, where L goes to 0, these terms become significant. And these equations, well, they directly go into the code that me and you will be building. Before tackling all of these complex equations in 3D, I basically wanted to create a 2D version to A, make sure I understand the equations and see that it translates to what I want to see, and B is just to try it on simple script that will work on a CPU. The integrator takes the throat size as a parameter. The derivative function calculates exactly what our geodesic equation tells us, how position and velocity change at each step. But here's a problem I ran into almost immediately. My rays were doing weird things, taking sharp turns, stepping directly into the throat, and the issue? Well, I was using Euler's method, where I was just adding the acceleration directly to the velocity at each time step. It's like driving kind of blindfolded, only knowing your current speed and direction. The solution is Range Kutta 4 or RK4. Instead of taking one blind step, RK4 takes 4 sample steps, then uses a weighted average to predict a much more accurate path. It's like having 4 scouts ahead of you to which direction to commit to. The difference is kind of dramatic, although you can see it here, but it plays a huge role for a final simulation. The cyan rays stays in our universe, and the red rays passes through the throat and ends up in the other universe. This 2D model kind of gave me the confidence that the math was working. Now it was time to go full 3D. Moving to 3D introduces a massive problem, that is scale. 1280 by 720 window has over 900,000 pixels. Each pixel needs its own ray. Each ray needs hundreds or thousands of RK4 steps. That's a billion of calculation per frame. Well, my CPU could clearly not handle it, as you can see. I was getting ridiculously low frame rates and my CPU consumption was going through the roof, as you can also see on my screen. The solution is to move to GPUs using something called shaders. I'm using modern GL with Pygame. The entire ray tracing engine runs in a fragment shader written in GLSL. Every pixel is basically computed in parallel. That's the beauty of GPUs. They are great at doing one specific task in parallel, and that's why they're being used in AI. See how this is similar to the old Python version? The geodesic equations are identical. I just translated them to GLSL. The state struct holds position and velocity in our wormhole coordinates. RK4 works exactly the same way on the GPU. The main loop runs on 600 RK4 steps per ray with adaptive step sizes. I use smaller step sizes near the throat where the curvature is the highest, and larger step sizes in flat regions for more efficient use. This is one of the most satisfying parts of the simulation, is seeing both universes through the wormhole. The blue universes uses cool cyan and white tones, and the red goes more for a movie-inspired deep orange and gold look. When you're looking at the wormhole from a distance, you can see the other universe through the throat, gravitationally lensed into that characteristic ring shape. And when you fly through, you watch one universe fade as the other universe wraps around you. At the throat, both universes are visible in opposite directions. I know, it's genuinely beautiful, but I need to tell you the truth here. This wormhole cannot exist in our universe, at least not with matter that we have ever observed. Einstein's field equation connects the geometry of spacetime on the left side to the matter and energy that creates it on the right side. For our Morris-Thorne wormhole to exist, we can solve backwards. Given this geometry, what kind of matter is required to make this? The answer is, as you would expect, disturbing. At the throat, the matter must have negative energy density, not just negative pressure, which dark energy to some extent has, but actual negative mass energy. This violates something called the null energy condition. To hold this up, we need something that physicists coin as exotic matter. Just put in simple words, matter that we have never observed. So when Dustin says that the upside down is held open by this exotic matter in the scene, which is, by the way, looks pretty cool, he's actually citing real mathematical/theoretical physics. The Duffer brothers surely did some homework there. But the problem? We've never observed exotic matter. Morris-Thorne calculated that for a human traversable wormhole, the tension at the throat would need to be comparable to the pressure at the center of a neutron star, about 10 to the power of 34 pascals, but pulling outwards instead of inwards in order to support that structure. Nothing we know of can do this. So mathematically, wormholes are completely valid solutions of Einstein's equations. But physically, they require matter that may not exist anywhere on the universe. And that's exactly what makes them so fascinating. Interstellar got the look of the wormhole pretty correct. If you would see it and see all the light rays trace out, you would see a spherical window into the other universe. But what Stranger Things Season 5 shows you is not a correct visualization of a wormhole. If you want to try this yourself, I'll link all of this code in the description in my GitHub account. Play with the throat size, fly into the other universe, see the photon rings, see the light bend, and experience the curved spacetime firsthand. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I make videos on astronomy and cover new research that comes out in astronomy. It's kind of my passion. And if you think I made a mistake somewhere in the video or I didn't explain a concept enough, feel free to drop down in your comments, drop your thoughts. I read and reply to every single one. Thanks for watching. Now let's go bend some more light. I'll catch you guys in the next one really soon.